We go. Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of Meta's Social Equity Deep Dive, brought to you by our sponsors at 420 Collections. Thank you for supporting us on our social equity journey. And of course, thank you to Zuber Lawler, Copper State, Weed Maps, and Scottsdale Community College for your ongoing support of our project to help introduce individuals who are looking at the social equity opportunities available to them in the Arizona market to interesting, informed individuals, and to learn a little bit about how the industry works. So my name again is Dimitri Downing. It's my pleasure to be one of the hosts for this process. And you've probably seen me on other ones before, so we won't focus on me. So today, whenever you're watching it, we have two pretty cool individuals that are very helpful and very approachable. I highly recommend them as resources in this industry. But let me go ahead and introduce them, and I'll start. Obviously, you can see that it's Jim Valenzuela and Victor Pucci, but I'll start with Victor. Victor, good to see you. I feel as if I've known you for 9 years because I've known your Ricky and Vicky and the Pucci family. But tell us about Victor and your story.
Sure. So good to see you again, Dimitri and Jim, and thank you for having me on your show. So a little bit about me. I'm a 30-year veteran of public accounting as my professional background. I was a tax and small business consultant for various CPA firms throughout the state, primarily here in Arizona. I got tired of that business about 4 years ago. I was pretty much burned out on the whole tax thing. And I had an opportunity to get into the cannabis industry, which I've always been a supporter of because I know what it can do. I had some personal experiences with some other family members, and I'm a huge fan of the medicinal values of cannabis. So I have decided to refocus and take my expertise that I've learned over 30 years in the public accounting world and do everything I can to make cannabis legal and safe for the public. So I've got a huge background in compliance, huge background, obviously, in accounting and tax. And probably most importantly is I've been able to see hundreds of small businesses operate, from the inside. So I've been in a lot of, go ahead.
When did you start? What year did you jump into the cannabis space?
Well, I started helping my cousin Vicky over at Earth Healing before she even got the license. I helped her put some of the information together for the application, and I consulted her throughout the entire arena, or since she started, basically. And it was.
I didn't know that. I knew Vicky, yeah. and I knew Ricky, yeah. But I didn't know you were behind the scenes.
Yeah, I just kind of helped her out on the side. Did her tax work forever, helped her out with her accounting behind the scenes, at night. She didn't have any money, so I was just kind of helping her out. And that's how the story goes in this industry. That we're just one of 130 of them. And so, yeah, I've been in it since day one. I actually went full time in the industry in 2000 and let's say 2018. I went full time.
No, that's fantastic. Accounting, business consulting, small business issues, taxation issues. That's everything finance. That's such an important aspect of this industry. It's great that you're out there. Are you available to social equity applicants or to individuals on a consulting basis as well, or just for? Yeah. I mean, are you doing that?
Absolutely. I will lend my hand to anybody that is serious about, being professional about their business. Right. That's what I bring to the table. I was raised 30 years in the professional industry.
But your focus is mostly on your family operations right now, correct?
I work full time there, but I do have an arrangement with the execs that if something comes up and people need help, it's not a problem. We all have varied interests and different ventures that we're involved in as well.
I'm going to take you if I'm eligible. I'm going to take you up. I'm going to call you. We're going to structure my deal.
No problem.
Tell us about Earth Healing and where you guys are at in your organization.
Sure. Arcelia, it's been a fun ride. My cousin Vicky started that, and she just bootstrapped it from day one. Spent all of her savings trying to get ready for um, the industry to start. I think she submitted 5 applications, had rented 5 locations for 2 years, and she was fortunate and got one license. Um, and she kind of just built that by herself, a small group, mostly family members helping her out. Borrowed from everybody and anybody, paid a whole lot of interest, kind of grew the business. Um, did very, very well in 2000 and I think it was 17. Actually found a partner, mostly with a financial backing, to really grow the business, put it on steroids, and was able to provide funds to acquire a second license. So now there's 2 licenses, 2 dispensaries in Tucson, Earth Healing North and Earth Healing South. South is the original one on Benson Highway. North is the newer one that is on River Road. And also have had a small little grow and extraction lab, a little 10,000 square foot warehouse built out. But we're now currently purchased I'll call it a compound, has a bunch of space. Campus that works too. And we're in production right now in construction, finishing a greenhouse, a 1-acre greenhouse, and a 5,000 square foot lab, extraction lab and packaging room. And we'll move all of that operation that currently sits in a couple different locations there. Of course, we applied for and got our recreational license as well at the end of February. And so we've been just going gangbusters, trying to keep up with all the changes.
That's fantastic. Earth Healing has a great reputation. Do you guys have any house brands that are seen in other dispensaries?
You haven't seen them in any other dispensaries yet. We're so small, right? We were kind of limited by our space, which we're eliminating that problem. But Earth's extracts are in-house brands for concentrates. And we really don't have our own flower brand, but we will soon.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing those spread throughout Arizona. And there's so many elements of the cannabis industry that you're an expert in. That just the concept of you making yourself available to people out there is really kind. I think about all the different nuances that people have to go through. I know we're here to talk about one subject specifically that Jim's an expert in, and Victor, of course, you're an expert in it as well. But there's so many aspects of this, and if somebody can get in touch with you, I can just think about the number of questions that you can answer. It's just it's a great pleasure to introduce you to a greater community. So
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I'll tell you that I think the most value I even brought to my cousin was when she decided to have a partner. It was at the beginning of that process, right? To make sure the deal was structured properly. I'll tell you that attorneys are great and they know how to put deals together, but they don't necessarily know how to make them the most efficient. And I walked into the deal very late, but before it was signed.
No, very good.
And made a few changes and saved a boatload of money because of it. And awesome. So yeah, one of the advantages of having seen hundreds and hundreds of deals throughout my 30-year CPA experience.
Yeah, but I've seen you in person too. You kind of look like you could be like one of those Navy SEAL bodyguard type guys, I think you're about 5'8" or 5'9", maybe, but you look like
5'9", and I'm closer to the guy that floats on a big rubber raft in a pool more than a Navy SEAL.
well, you look really like you're really good shape, like Bono's security guard. You always see Bono's security guard behind him. He's like 5'8", but he can take down anyone in that crowd.
I appreciate it, but
so people can catch up with you at MEDA. We're going to have some big town halls in September and October, and you'll hear about those. And please join us, and people can bump into you and stuff, or reach out to you. We'll leave phone numbers and emails contact information on our website. But yeah, let's before we get into the specific content of today's, we should have you for a whole bunch of these, Victor. I keep thinking about this. Pushing your brand across the state of Arizona. I know you have a game plan. But Jim, subject matter expert for the day, because we're trying to keep these. We have so many topics. There's so many. I mean, you could do an hour on taxes. You can do an hour on cultivation. You can do an hour on branding. This hour on everything. But let me introduce to the crowd Jim Valenzuela. Jim, tell us about yourself, a little bit about your journey, and we'll get into your company.
It's good seeing you all. It's good seeing you, Dimitri. Thanks for having me. Victor, it's always good to see you. I'm like Victor. I actually started in the public accounting field back in a while back. Actually worked for a firm that's no longer there, but I actually was a CPA with them in the public accounting. I worked in the auditing side and was there for 4.5 years. And then I went and left that public accounting. I found out right away that public accounting to me I was not going to last. That was not for me. I wanted to get into more in the entrepreneurial things. And so I left and started doing entrepreneurial deals, whether it was real estate, other investments, medical device manufacturing, medical software, CRM software. I was part of a company that we took public. We were venture backed. We took public in the late 90s, 2000s. Then I did another deal that we took technology. It was semiconductor technology, and did that deal and raised the funds and all these deals. So I'm used to doing venture backed or private equity backed deals. And the last one I did was a company that was that I sold to Paychex or Oasis. It was a company that was private equity backed. And it was a company that was Diversified Human Resources, DHR, here in the Phoenix area that we came in and took over. And I went in as a CFO and became the CEO after a year. And what we did is basically we were a full service HR service provider. And we provided service to about 800 clients, and that was about 20,000 worksite employees on a national basis. We were in 45 different states. We sold that to, like I said, to Paychex Oasis in 2017. And I stayed for a year under contract. Then I had a 1-year non-compete. And during that time frame and my non-compete, that's when I was looking at getting back into the space and doing something new. I was looking at a couple of different ventures, whether it was medical software again or some other deal. And I decided that I wanted to get back into the HR service platform space, because what I had was the experience that I saw, which was in the Colorado marketplace when I was running DHR and we had clients that were cannabis clients in 2014. And they were growing very fast, and they were changing. Back then in 2014, I know you guys are amazed at this, but they were changing the name, changing banks, changing everything. My sales guys were just signing these folks up, and they were growing like crazy. But then my bank at the time was US Bank, and they were one of the sponsor partners in the private equity deal. So they actually asked me, what do these guys do? And I said, well, let me find out. And then my sales guy said, oh, Jim, you didn't know that? And I said, what do they do? And they said, well, they're cannabis. And so, of course, I had to tell the bank, and they said, well, you've got 2 weeks to terminate them as a client. So I had to terminate about 8 to 9 clients. And that was about, back then, that was about 400 to 500 employees. And it wasn't something I enjoyed doing. But when I started looking at this thing and I saw where everything was going, and talking to some folks that I knew that were banking, that there was a bank here in Arizona that was banking the cannabis players, I decided that's when I wanted to get back into and do it focused specifically for the cannabis space. So what Oraleaf HR does is we provide a full service HR solutions to the cannabis space. And that's what we do. And you do it it's a fully compliant MRB account. I do it with my bank runs. I do everything, direct deposits. I do everything. I do applicant tracking systems. We do onboarding. We do everything. Whatever the client needs, we try to accommodate their needs. So that way we're a one-stop shop for them, makes it easy and lets them actually really focus on which is their business, which is something that they didn't get into the cannabis space to do all the back end stuff of HR and payrolls and benefits and all these things. They didn't get in the business of that. They want to know that it's getting done right and professional, and they want to make sure it's compliant. Taxes, all these components, they want to make sure all that's done So that way, we know the cannabis has had a bullseye on the back of a lot of people in the first place. Let's not make it any larger for any of the regulators out there. So that's what we provide to a myriad to the cannabis space, and that's what we're doing.
No,
And so,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
go. No, that's it.
No, that's great. I just real quickly, Victor, Jim was talking about the growth, and I just wanted to, kind of point of reference here. In 2012, Vicky was a team of one. Now, how many individuals are you guys working with? They're responsible for employees, independent contractors in your organization 9 years later?
Yeah, we're at about 130 to 140. And before the end of the year, we'll probably be close to 200.
Which it's just unbelievable. It's just absolutely fantastic. And Jim, you understand more than anyone the headache, the complexity it is to manage human resources and all those elements. But let's get into some like more specific. So I'm gonna put together the scenario. What I think is going to happen here is that with the 26 licenses being issued this fall, I think half of them are just going to sell outright. They're just speculators who are putting together teams and partnerships, and they will transfer that license with whatever legal regulatory structure they, whatever state does, people will figure out a way to transfer it. And right now, according to the existing rules, it is transferable, but those might change in September. We really don't know. But I think 13 of the 26 are going to just get out. And then 13 of them are going to, go it alone or find management groups to work with. I'm sure Earth Healing will make itself available as a management group as well. Why not? There's probably everybody will. But should they decide to go it alone, should they decide to try to build out an organization, and we're talking about like one individual with one license and limited financing. If that was me, and I don't know who wants to go first, and I call you up, hey Jim, guess what? I saw you on this Zoom call. You seem like a very well-connected, knowledgeable guy. I have to build out a team. Let's not get into the finance aspect of it because that's a whole nother element. But I got financing from, an organization over there. They're going to lend me as much money as I need at 0% interest rate. Just kidding. What's my first step? Where do I go? What happens with my executive team? What am I looking for? What would you do if you were me, Jim? Or Jim, Victor, who wants to go first?
I know, I think there's a couple different ways, but I like to hear what Victor says because since he's right in it, I know what I would be doing, but I like to know from Victor's perspective because he's in the space and he's seen it from where Vicky's been and what she did. And, there's a lot of, like I've learned a lot from deals that have mistakes I've made along the way. And so you want to learn from those other folks that have done it before. So that way hopefully you can avoid some of those pitfalls. So in this space, I would really like to hear what Victor says, and I will put my 2 cents on it after that, because I think there's some experiences I've had in technology space that I was in, a software, whatever, that really lend itself to the growth, the hyper growth that we're seeing in the cannabis space now.
Yeah, so Victor, hey, how are you doing, Victor? Just won.
Yeah.
I got this guy who's going to finance my entire organization. Hopefully, you're available as a consultant hourly, but I know you're working for Earth Healing. Well, give me some advice. What would you do?
Yeah, so I'll approach this as I guess I would any entrepreneur and say, first of all, evaluate your own skill set and be honest with what you know and what you don't know, right? And from a general business perspective, you've got legal, you've got accounting, you've got finance, you've got marketing, you have operations. Vicky and I have retail and wholesale backgrounds. We grew up in family business that was retail oriented. So she didn't need any help setting up retail space, setting up a storefront and knowing how to run a retail store, right? But inevitably in these deals, because there's large funds required, you may need partners, right? You need some good legal help, okay? you need somebody that understands business, and I would just say business operations, right? That could be a consultant, that could be a direct hire, right? But you need somebody that understands how to put together an operating plan, right? That means how many people do I need to hire? How do I build out a supply chain? What about packaging? You know, all these kinds of things that go into having a storefront.
Oh, I think we had a freeze there on.
So you you need somebody that understands and was willing to get into the details of compliance and really understand, because a lot of it, it's not necessarily legalese, but it's complicated, right? You need to read those things like 50 times before you get a real detailed understanding of what they say. And then you need that help for somebody to say, okay, we need to make sure we're doing this, and this is how we're going to document it, and this is how we stay out of trouble, right? And you need to bring those people together into a room and say, okay, I will call the shots from a directive standpoint, but I need top level people to help me with the details on every one of these things. And so once you define what your own skill set is, then you go find the rest of them. Whether you outsource them or you hire them directly, doesn't really matter. As long as you can build a trusting, honest, transparent relationship with all of them. And that's really the key, in my opinion, to making the team work.
No, that what do you know? What is your skill set? I think such an important question. You have me asking myself that question. But first, I got to figure out what license I want and what I want to do with my life. Just kidding. That joke. But so, where and how do you find these people? Jim, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I think what Victor's saying is correct. I mean, that's what I've done. You know, you surround yourself. I've always said, listen, the best thing to do is surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, because they just make you look good. And that really is a key to, especially in certain areas, whether it's in the sales, whether it's in legal, whether it's in this space, which is you've got to have a deep knowledge and of the regulations, of the growth, of all these things. And it's really starts with that business plan that Victor talks about. So that way, you know, your business plan is really kind of like your Bible going forward, and it gives you a roadmap of where you're going to go for success and how you're going to execute against that plan. And then you've got the hiring plan, you've got all these pieces, and going through and hiring folks, whether it's a business operations guy, a general manager, whatever you want to call it, a CFO, controllers, all these people. I've always found out that my networking has always been a best practice of doing that, to find out people that have worked out there and done it. I've used headhunters, I've done everything. But for me personally, I've always been through a network of folks that have been there and done that, and where their experience lends itself to your company. So that's always a critical. How does their experience lend itself to your company? And it's when you're hiring them, how do they visualize that experience helping you in your company? But like Victor said, at the end of the day, you've got to be able to trust them. They've got to be all in, just like you are, because at the end of the day, this is basically a startup for you. And you need people who are going to run through the wall for you. And they're as passionate about this business as you are, because that's what it really takes to become successful, because there's going to be, along the way, there are going to be pitfalls and there's going to be challenges. And that's where you want to make sure you have the right people in place, whether it's like Victor said, the operations guy, the finance guy, you know, the banker, the legal, whoever it is, all these folks working in unison, operating and executing against a plan.
Victor, Jim said people who run through the walls to you. I don't know how. I like that. I don't know how you find those people. People who Jim was saying, people who are strong with regulations. And I think one of you guys said strategic about the growth of this industry. But like in your executive team and your initial hires, people that you were bringing on, Victor, are you looking for people inside the industry, outside this industry, and what kind of expertise would you be looking for to help you out?
Sure. So, you know, when we started, there was no industry here in the state. So you could have cannabis enthusiasts, which helped because I think people need to understand the product. Otherwise, their advice may not lend itself, like Jim said, to your business. So you need some industry knowledge. Hopefully it's industry expertise a place like META is a great resource. Now that there's an industry in the state of Arizona, there's a lot of people that have knowledge now of the industry, right? So today we look for people that have that experience because it exists, right? We look for people that are growing now. You know, there's all kinds of growers, but growing tomatoes and growing cannabis is not the same. Just because they were both done in a greenhouse, that does not cut it, right? You need to understand the minutia of the industry. The customer base is different than a regular retail customer, right? The product's different than anything else. The regulations are different, right? So hopefully you look for people that have industry experience, because if somebody who wins a license doesn't have that experience, they're going to be lost, and they will unfortunately make a lot of mistakes without people that have that experience by their side.
And the way we really see it is that, you know, there'll be 3,000, 4,000 applicants for these positions. And these licenses, of course, you know, few of them are going to sell, but the 13 individuals that decide to manage and work with people to build out the licenses, you know, they're going to be reaching high and low through META's network or through individuals like yourself to find advisors and people to help them out. So you being here is fantastic. Cannabis, just real quickly, because somebody, I think you said cannabis enthusiasts. You know, META actually does that. We actually have like people that specifically know a lot more about cannabis than I do. You know, I know about organizations, but I don't know what the consumer is doing and stuff. So we actually specifically use that strategy ourselves. So I thank you for pointing that out, because I'm like, yeah, we did that. So anyways, but yeah, so Jim, you know, we have some really good information here as to what you would do first. Do you guys offer that sort of service at Oro? Like, you know, somebody called, you know, looking for executive placement?
No, I don't offer the executive search. You know, people call me up and they say, hey, I get calls all the time though, from folks looking for whether it's a controller, a CFO, a salesperson. And I think from a financial standpoint, I don't ever try to do, you know, take fees or anything like that. But if someone is available that I know and they want to, I'm obviously going to be a resource for them to, if they're looking for someone. Now, I do know that there's, you know, I don't want to utilize my client base as a you know, a field of applicants, because that wouldn't be right to my clients also. So I can't do that either. But no, as far as like there's most of the folks that I get referred to are on the executive level or the CFO level or the controller level. I do have some folks that are always calling me up because they say, hey, I hear you're doing something in the cannabis space. If there's something that ever comes up that's available, I'd love to be able to interview for it. If you know someone looking for that job or looking for someone in that space. And I said, that's great. However, you still need to learn about the space, because just because you are a CPA doesn't mean that it's automatic, because it's a totally different space. You need to make sure, like I said earlier, how does your experience translate to this company? What's it going to do? Because it's totally different. It is a completely different. This is not like doing a real estate deal or running an apartment complex. It is not like this at all. It is, you know, when you got seed to sale tracking, when you've got inventory, you got cost accounting, you got all these components of it. It's a very detailed oriented business. It is, I know that people say, I want to be in cannabis. Guess what? It's tough. It's tough. It's a grind them out everyday deal. And so that's what I would just say to them. But yes, it's a growing field. It's all those things. But yes, that's what I kind of do on my side. I don't offer recruiting services. That's not one thing, but we do know where I always get approached by recruiting companies that saying, hey, if you know, we'd like to partner up with you and things like that. And I just said, hey, if I find someone, that's great.
Yeah, Jim, and I know your contacts, your network throughout the state of Arizona, and the quality of the C-suites and management level people that you roll with from outside of the cannabis industry. You know, I'm sure you have some of those individuals who are looking to migrate into this fast growing space.
They are. They're looking for those executive positions in those areas, to say the least, because they think that, because they see the opportunity, to be quite honest, and they want to be part of a growing field. And there's nothing more fun, to be quite honest, than being in a fast growing paced environment. Challenging as it is, it's fun.
Yeah, I'm always trying to, the people, everybody's always trying to balance that, skills that are transferable to all industries. And then, of course, as you were saying, the uniqueness of the cannabis industry and how different it is.
Yep.
And Victor, you're probably one to speak best about that. I mean, you've been in many, how much, 20, almost 20, 30 years outside the cannabis space. And then
30 years, yeah.
How do you see that real quickly? Do you see the skill set? I mean, there's distinctions, how easy is it to transfer the skills from for another industry into our cannabis industry?
I think in some things it's pretty easy. But there's a lot of it that just doesn't translate. Now, I'll say, especially when you get to the C-level people, they should be able to migrate and get their hands around it relatively quickly, as long as they're willing to drop what they already know and learn. And some people aren't, right? Some people are adamant that selling a loaf of bread is the same as selling an ounce of cannabis.
Right.
And it's not. It just isn't. The customer is completely different.
Definitely different consumer for sure.
Absolutely. And so, some people are willing to go ahead and say, yeah, I'll just use my general knowledge, right? So basics, concepts, if you will, and then learn the intricacies of the industry. And they do very well, and they can migrate very quickly. But others are no, it's, they have their own ways and their own methods, and they stick to them, and it doesn't really work. We've seen it more than once in the industry, and you of all people have seen how many things have changed hands, right?
I'm not an expert in economics or the phraseology used by businesses, but some of the 2012, 13, 14, 15, this is the beginning of when we were experiencing the beginning of the development of the cannabis regulations, the cannabis tradition, the cannabis culture, how deals are structured. Percentage of what, and what's a proper broker's fee and all these things. The 3% real estate thing has been kind of established for 30, 40, 50 years now. And people are trying to figure out what the proper deals even, and what they should be structured. And there's not a lot of transparency. There's no business school that you can go to get this information. You just have to learn hands-on. And I think that's what's led to a lot of litigation. But real quickly, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say there's been a financial penalty for cannabis since day one.
Yep.
Regardless of what you buy, sell, deal, there's a penalty just because you're in cannabis, or a premium. Call it what you want.
Yeah.
Right.
The premium is very well said.
And I think with interstate commerce coming, and things are going to, in the next 3 to 5 years, things are going to become even more complex or more simplified. We don't even know, so you better be prepared and better have the right people around you. So let me ask you a couple quick questions I have written down. A lot of these individuals that win these licenses are going to be like, well, I should work with my family or friends. My family or my friends. My family. So Victor, the question for you. What would you recommend? What's it like working with family? The
family or friends, one, I grew up in a family business, so I'm okay with that. But I'm sure you've heard 100 stories, 1,000 stories. You probably have your own experience that family can be a challenge, right? Working with family doesn't always go well, and I would just say that you have to evaluate the person as, what their skill set is and how well they can relate to the situation and how willing they are to be a partner, if you will, in the business. And I don't mean that in an equity sense. I just mean that in being able to roll with whatever needs to get done. I don't care if you're family. I don't care if you're not. And some family members can do that and some can't. And unfortunately, there's no hard and fast rule, right? So I would always, if I had a choice between family and non-family and everything else is equal, I would go with them.
Well, you have a very talented family. I happen to know some of them, so maybe it's an unfair question to ask you, but it's highly skilled. Well, excellent. So I think we've given the people, and I'm trying to keep these short. I think we've hit the 30-minute mark. We've got are we at, Victor? Are you?
No, we're good. I'm fine.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were talking to me. I'm like my internet's like clicking here in a weird way. So we're trying to give people a good idea of who you guys are and where you're from. Any other bits of advice that you can think of? At this point, I'm thinking to myself, whoever's watched this video is calling either of you guys to try to get some free information. And I know you guys are good Arizonans, which is at the top of my list as a native. Are you guys natives as well?
I am.
Yep.
Oh, wow. We got 3 natives here.
That's very rare.
That is very rare.
No, but I'll tell you, it matters because a lot of people don't like shit and piss where they eat. You know what I'm saying? And there is kind of with some at least, like a concept of an Arizona, community, family. Maybe it's just my imagination, but I highly recommend you guys as resources. I don't want you guys to commit too much free time, but I think anybody who picks up a social equity license or is looking to apply should probably reach out to you just to make contact, and just to have a point of reference. But any other last minute advice or any other thoughts that you would want to leave the audience with about who you are, or the process they're about to encounter, or what happens once they win?
Yeah. So I think a bit of advice that I have for the applicants and not necessarily the winner is you might want to line up a few ducks before you find out that you won or you didn't win. And I say that because a lot of times the deals are already structured by the time the license is won. And if that deal isn't a good deal, whatever you think you won, you probably didn't win, right? You yourself said it. How many lawsuits have happened in this industry since it started? And it's all because of the way the deals were structured. And just spending a little time, spending a little money with some consultants up front, even if they don't finalize any contracts, as long as they're aware of what not to do in a deal, that's money very well spent.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I would say the same thing, Victor. I think that what like money well spent. I mean, that's just an investment in the success of your company going forward. Because I agree, because I'm hearing all kinds of stuff of deals already trying to take form. You got entities getting out there. They want to do this. You got to do that. You got to decide, first of all, find someone you trust as a consultant, legal, whatever, someone's strategy that understands what you're trying to do, because that way you can start formulating what you want. And you have a plan A, B, C, whatever it is, because that's the way it's going to work. And what you would like to do and execute it on. But yes, you're right, because I think what you're going to do is find out that the pitfalls, and we've seen all the lawsuits going back and forth, and you don't want to have those things. They're not fun, because that's not what you got into the business for. You don't want to spend any dollars fighting, and because the only people who win in those deals are the attorneys at the end of the day, and there's no reason for you to be doing that. If you structure it correctly, you know what you want to do, and you surround yourself with the right folks at the very beginning, it will help you, and it will pay dividends for you on a go forward basis for sure. And this is that, and that I think, unfortunately, what we've seen, and I think Victor's seen that's across every business. And cannabis is not specific, but cannabis has its own nuances to it that create much more of that, more so than other entities or other businesses that are outside of cannabis.
Victor, I really, really love your story, because I mean, you were there with Vicky, but Vicky, from just a license to 130 people, so it is doable. That gives
it's absolutely doable. It is absolutely doable.
I'm telling social equity license holders just to sell. Get as much as you can and walk away, because it's a mess.
Well, sometimes that's the right answer, you know? Sometimes that's absolutely the right answer.
Well, I mean, yeah,
But anybody that wins a license in this industry, they just need to be ready. It is a difficult business. It's not an easy business. Everybody thinks that you just, you know, you just won the lottery. You got the lottery ticket and you can just relax and everything's going to work out. It's never that easy. You know, if you're lucky enough to flip a license and walk away with some bucks, great. But if you want to operate in this business, it is not easy. And you know, you need help. Everybody needs help. I don't know of a single company that's operating here just didn't need any help, right? Whether it was whatever part of the business, doesn't matter, it was finance, legal, operations, you know, they all needed help, even the biggest of the big.
Yep.
you know, you and Jim could get together, and I try to volunteer as much time as possible, but you guys could get together and write a little how-to book, you know? And Jim, you could interview Victor and, you know, just give me like some credit at the beginning. Thank you, Dimitri, for the idea. We're off helping. It's
Credits at
fantastic.
the end, Dimitri.
Yeah, just give me some sort of credit in there. I'm happy, but I'm also thrilled that you guys are both native Arizonans. I knew your connections were deep. I just forgot that you guys are born here as well, which is just awesome. Excellent. So, any closing thoughts? This will sit on the website for the next 3-4 months. Hopefully, people will get to know you better and reach out to you. And it's my great honor again to share your existence with people out there in the world through this this thing that we've created, this social equity resource, which we get a lot of props for, you know, conceptually bringing industry leaders and industry individuals to present themselves, network, and provide a little bit of information. It seems like such a simple concept. I don't know why it hasn't happened before, but either way, just some closing thoughts. Who wants to go first?
I'll go ahead. So I'll just say, look, I will make myself available. I obviously have a full-time job, so I don't have unlimited time. My purpose in helping people is exactly that. I want to help people. I said at the beginning of this, I got into the industry because I want to do everything I can in my power to make this product available for the people that need it. And frankly, that doesn't necessarily mean you have a medical problem, because even on a social basis, I'd much rather people be using cannabis than alcohol. And so I'm here to help. It's the only reason I'm in the business. And so I definitely will make myself available.
Well,
And best of luck to everybody who applies.
Oh, thank you, Victor, and thank you, Earth Healing, for lending us this little bit of your time, and hopefully Earth Extracts. Is that what we're going to be seeing?
Yep, yeah, you will be seeing that.
Eventually, we'll be walking through Manhattan, and there'll be big Earth Extracts, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you.
You never know.
Thank you to the Pucci family, friends of mine, and by the way, you're invited now to our tailgates, Victor. Ricky comes to our tailgates.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Yeah, he hasn't missed one in like 8 years.
Well, if it's a party, you know, he's not going to miss it.
No, September 10th or 11th. Maybe we should do a social equity tailgate. I don't even know. Jim, some closing thoughts.
Yeah, like I said, you know, feel free to reach out to me. I can offer whatever services I can to you, advice, you know, maybe whatever it is. I got into the space also, not as much as like Victor because he's inside. I got it because I think what I want to do is I believe that a cannabis business should have the same opportunity and the same rights to give the same benefits, to do everything for their employees and as employers, because listen, the cannabis people want to do it the right way. You know, my problem is the government won't let them do it the right way sometimes. They're penalizing them. And that's what I wanted to be able to do, was at least give cannabis companies a place where they could go to do it the right way. Because it allows them to do it the right way. Then they're filing their taxes, they're paying their employees, they're getting their employees all their benefits. They're doing all these pieces to do it the right way, because doing it the other way, or doing it, not allowing them to do it and utilize the platforms that are out there is not right. And so that was kind of my reasoning to get in it, because I wanted to make sure that they were doing the right thing. As Victor said, you know what? it's a professional business, run like a professional, is get yourself with the professional folks and do it that way. And so that's kind of what I wanted to lend my expertise to.
Oh, you guys, this has been incredible. You guys elevate things. You raise the bar. So I want to thank everybody again for watching another module, and thank our guests, Victor Pucci and Jim Valenzuela, who are available out there. Hopefully you'll see them at one of the meetings in August, September, October, November, as you all begin your journey into cannabis. And again, thank you guys for your service to the state of Arizona and the growing cannabis industry. And your contact information will be available on our website, so people can reach out to you. But thank you again.
Bet.
Great.
Thank you.